This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
The following episode of Charlotte, a City of International Success, is brought to you by Central Piedmont Community College and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Maha Gingrich. Coming up next on Charlotte, a City of International Success, I will interview Dirk Lindenbeck. We're going to talk about what it takes to build a successful family business. Stay with us. Welcome to Charlotte, a City of International Success. I'm Dr. Maha Gingrich. Today, our guest is Dirk Lindenbeck. Dirk is the chairman of B&E Manufacturing. Dirk, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. I have known you in the community, especially working with Rotary District, and you have worked so hard for our community. We appreciate that work that you do in just to help people do the projects, do amazing things in the community that's really deserved and needed. So thank you for doing all that.
It has always been fun.
Oh, I'm sure it has. And you're originally from Germany?
Yes, I was born in northern Germany in a little village called Lindenbeck, and that was in 1943. As of 1945, I was then back in Hanover with my parents and my grandparents.
Oh wow, now are you the only child for your parents?
Yes, I'm the only one. They concentrated everything into one.
Well, that's a good strategy right there. Now, about your parents, what did they do? What did your mom and dad do?
My mother worked in a clothing shop, and she also worked with the postal service. The ladies who put the plugs in for the phone connections at that time. And then, once she had me, I kept her busy.
Now, we were talking before the show, and you told me about you being a lucky child, literally, because it was during the war. And you said, tell me a story about your mom being in the field doing some work.
Yeah, during the wartime, my mother lived with relatives sort of halfway between Hanover and Hamburg. And she was helping with the chores of the family and was out in the field turning over the grass to dry and so on. She heard a plane coming. And it was flying very low. She could see the pilot, so she waved to the pilot. And as the plane was passing, she realized it was not a German plane, but an American plane. So there would have been a good chance for the pilot to just kill her. He did not do that, and that's why I'm here today.
That is amazing. That's a great story. And what did your father do?
My father studied, he was engineer.
Okay.
And he then joined the military in, I think it was 30 or 32. So he was for 12 years in the military.
Oh yeah.
And he was at the Russian front for the later part of the war,
yeah,
and was in what used to be Czechoslovakia when the war ended. And he told me a story about that situation,
yeah,
because he was a tank commander.
Tank commander?
Tank commander.
Oh wow, okay.
And had a tank which he, at the time when the war was over, turned around, yeah, and drove through a portion of Czechoslovakia to get to the American front. Yeah. So there was no man's land in between. Yeah. He definitely did not want to be taken prisoner by the Russians, so he took the tank and was taken prisoner by the Americans. And after 2 weeks, he was let go home. And I have the feeling that the Americans were very happy to get a working tank from him handed over for nothing, so they let him go fast.
But that is an amazing strategy on your father's side. Trying to make that decision, do I go to Russians, do I go to Americans, because he wanted to live.
That's right.
You know, he's
And
got
it was-
family, and you know, what is the worst and what's the best case scenario? And then here he is, you know, got lucky enough again, you know, to go to American side, and then actually they let him go.
That's right.
That is amazing. I see why you keep talking about that luck part of it. You know, life you work hard, but at the same time, sometimes these kind of small decisions are extremely important.
That's
And,
right.
so you're the only child.
Right.
So obviously you went to school there.
Yes, I
Right.
went to school, and from first grade to 13th, it was all the same name, Bismarckschule. And then once I had done my Abitur, the high school finishing,
Yeah.
then I studied at the university in Hanover, studied mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering. Okay, that's that 5-year program or 4-year program?
Theoretically, it's a 4-year program. It took me 5 years, and the average time was 12.9 years at that time.
Oh.
So I did it
Wow.
a little bit faster, and I then did a PhD, which I did in 2.5 years, which also was very fast because my professor was behind me. He wanted still to get that done before his retirement. So on March 9, I did my exam, and on April 1, he was retired. So I didn't have any chance to waste any time.
So you actually got your doctorate in what?
It was a theme about the use of industrial diamonds for grinding of ferrous metals.
Use of
Interesting field.
industrial diamonds.
Yeah,
Grinding.
for grinding purposes of ferrous metals. Usually industrial diamonds are used for extremely hard materials like tungsten carbide, granite, concrete, glass, but that was a theme which was looking for other applications for industrial diamonds,
Yeah.
and I had the theme of using it for ferrous metals. And
Wow, that is
later on
amazing.
there was a new material developed,
Yeah.
which is called cubic boron nitride. It is the second hardest material after diamond, and that is very appropriate to be used for high-speed steel, tool steels, and so on. So those themes went well together with each other.
I had no idea they used diamond to cut, but it makes sense from what you're telling me. That's the toughest, hardest, you know, and then you have the second hardest now that's been, you know, obviously through research, they found the other metal.
And found the applications for
The
that other material.
Wow. Okay, so that's what you did, the research and
Yeah, the
your
application
doctorate
and the basis to understand what the limitations of the industrial diamonds are when you're using it on ferrous metals. There was a ware which is called a diffusion type of a ware, where the carbon from the diamond diffuses into the ferrous metal and creates a much higher wear than when you have a material like glass, where there is no chemical affinity to diamond. Diamond is carbon, just in a different crystallization, and the carbon reacts with the ferrous metals.
Did you work in Germany or did you take a job elsewhere?
After I had done my doctorate, I was invited by De Beers to come to South Africa and work in the Diamond Research Laboratory in Johannesburg.
So you went to South Africa.
To South Africa for
Okay,
3
that's a big
years.
change
Yeah,
from
it is.
Germany to South Africa.
It was a big step, but it was always something which my father sort of supported, the idea to go to another country and learn something which you would not learn in Germany, and come back and be more valuable to the German industry than if you are just working in Germany. So all that worked out, except the turn coming back. That didn't happen because I liked
so
it
you didn't
elsewhere.
come back.
Yeah, for a year.
You said the place you talked about, you know, in South Africa, you didn't have telephone lines?
Yes, that was quite a challenge. There
Yeah.
were telephones around,
Yeah.
but the functionality was somewhat limited.
Yeah.
So when my direct neighbor, for example, wanted to make a phone call, he filled a bucket of water
Yeah.
and went out into the yard to a particular place and emptied the bucket of water into the grass, and then he would walk back into the house, and then he can make a phone call. And and the reason was simply they only laid one wire, and the second wire was the earth. But when you have a dry time and you don't have a good connection between your wire which goes into the ground, it doesn't work.
So he would take a bucket of water and pour on the pole. Oh, that is hilarious. Okay, well, I never thought about that, but I think because nowadays we take all this for granted. You know, we don't even think about how people, you know, try to communicate. You know, communications, wireless communications, telephone communications, you know, are just a norm. You never think about the hardships between the countries, trying to communicate, doing business. You know, that never really occurs to us because we take it for granted, everything that we have.
That's right.
So,
And actually, at some stage, I got a letter from a friend of mine who was working with a company in Hamburg.
yeah.
And he said that his boss wanted to talk to me. So we communicated by letter to the point that we defined a certain day, a certain time when his boss would be calling me. So I made sure that the bucket of water was emptied in order to have the phone line working.
I like that.
So
Did it work?
it did work,
Okay,
and
that's
I was invited to come to Hamburg and talk with the owners and the management of the Ernst Winter company about a project they had to buy a business in Brazil. And they wanted me to be the technical director for that plant, and there was an Austrian gentleman to be the commercial director.
Okay.
In the end, that deal fell through, and the owner's opinion was, well, if it is not with the company which they were going to buy, it's against them. So he bought a piece of property and told me to build a plant. So nothing better for an engineer to have a challenge like that.
That's what you got trained in,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Wow. This was in Brazil.
That was in Brazil.
This was in Brazil.
Right.
Now you by yourself.
That's right.
Okay. Is that where you met your wife? I think I remember you saying something about it.
Yeah, I was a member of the German club, and I happened to be at an event which was the end event for a dance school class where my wife's brother was, and so I was sitting at the next table having my dinner, and I saw this pretty little girl. I asked her to dance, and when I brought her back to the table, her father asked me to come over and sit with them, and the rest is history.
Really? Now, I would not have envisioned that Brazil had a German club. Were there that many Germans there to have a club, or it is something that some people have put together just to ensure that Germans get a chance to be with them, so their peers?
Well, there is an interesting fact that the biggest industrial city, German industrial city, is not anywhere in Germany, but it's Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So there are a lot of companies, and I think the investment into Brazilian companies by German companies is more than here in the States.
Okay.
So there are many Germans then who were brought over to help with the development of the new business which they were looking for. And that's the way why there's a German club, which is the so-called Übersee Club in Hamburg. That's the corresponding club, and where the Germans meet when they want to meet Germans, you know.
That is amazing. Okay, that's I did not know about that either, about the investment. So after Brazil, so you met your wife. Now, did you get married there, or?
Yes, we
In
got
Brazil?
married 1979 in Sao Paulo. in the German church, the Igreja da Paz, the Church of Peace. So, and a year later, our first son was born, and another 16 months later, the second one was born.
So they were born in Brazil?
They were born in Brazil.
Both of them?
Both of them.
Oh, wow. And you have a daughter?
Yeah.
When the daughter was born?
The third one, the daughter was born then in the United States.
Okay.
And we always make fun of her because she is an outsider, because she was born here.
When did you come to the United States?
In '82 we moved to the States, because by that time the company which I had started and built up in Brazil was doing very well. And the owners of the company decided that they wanted to do another project to build another plant, and that was here in the United States.
Oh. What part of the United States did you come?
That was in Travelers Rest, which is close to Greenville in South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina?
I had a chance to build another plant, and it was interesting because the products were completely different from the one in Brazil.
Okay.
So it was another new challenge to meet. And we got that plant running and working very well. And that was in '82, '83, '84, I was working in that plant. Then I decided finally that I wanted to do something different, and joined one of our customers.
Yeah.
And in that whole time of doing that business for the company in Germany and then the customer, I found out that the situation in the United States is completely different from what I had seen in Brazil, what I had seen in South Africa and Germany. There is that climate of having your own business, which is something which was not common in my family. However, my father-in-law always told me I have never been an employee, because he was an auditor, so it doesn't lend itself so much.
Place to place.
And then I had a customer who always told me, no, don't get to the United States, have your own business here in Brazil, I'll buy all the diamond tools from you and so on. The only problem was that in Brazil, a long-term financing was half a year. And when you do a long-term investment, which is building a company, half a year is not a good time frame.
That's a very long period of time.
So that was causing me to say, no, I can't build a business because I did not have the financial means to have my own money into that. But once I was here in the States, I saw that a lot of things were completely different. And I decided when I was 42 that it was time to do something different and have my own business.
Wow.
So
You were being brought up, I think, from what you're telling me, you've been brought up to be an independent thinker.
Yeah, I think I can say that. My parents made sure that I was independent and a self-starter and so on. And the jobs which I had were mostly also requiring to be a self-starter, because when you are working in Brazil with very limited telephone, still there it was very limited, then there is not a good communication. The fax machine, yes, it is a communication, but not necessarily. And the telefax was even worse, a good communication tool.
All the resources that you needed, you just had to figure it out. How are you going to make it work, and how do you build a plant, and how do you make it successful? So when you came here, you saw those as a plus point for you to get started. That's what you're saying.
That was definitely a good experience that I did build 2 plants and had my experience and decided that I would not build a plant from scratch for my own, but to buy an ongoing business.
Oh, what a great idea.
And that was then a little bit easier from the financial point of view, because you knew there was immediately some cash flow which you could use to survive and pay off your debt and so on. And that worked out very well. I was happy that I had learned enough about that and did it the right way.
So after that, what did you do? After you purchased that business, did you continue building your businesses?
Yes, we bought the business in '87, and in '92 I had built a plant in the Monroe area. We were initially in a building in Mint Hill, and since the zoning map for Mint Hill said industrial development is to be discouraged. At that stage, that was the situation. I decided to build the new plant in Indian Trail.
What is this plant now? Is this the B&E manufacturing?
That is correct.
Okay, and then you said you have bought other businesses?
Yes, actually B&E manufacturing we bought, and then 3 years later we bought Stainless Valve Company.
Stainless Valve Company, okay.
And then we bought another business which was a firearms manufacturer.
Okay.
And so we accumulated certain diverse activities in order to have several legs to stand on.
Several legs to stand on. So what does your business do? What you know, you have all these legs. So what does the business actually do? What do you do there?
We have today 2 legs because at some stage the type of firearm which we made was no longer allowed, and so that fell by the wayside. But we still have 2 legs to stand on, like us people. And one activity is the job shop, the manufacturing for third parties. So we do welding and machining on CNC turning and milling centers according to drawings which we get from our customers.
So when you do these, you know, manufacturing, what about the steel valve? What was that about?
Yeah, that was the other leg we are standing on. The Stainless Valve Company, which is a manufacturer of specialty valves for the process industry. So for companies in the pulp and paper manufacturing, in the food, in mining, chemical, petrochemical, all those industries where you see the big pipes. That is basically the target industry for our activities.
Now, obviously, what you have is a family business. You have your wife working with you, and then you said that your children also, you know, kind of, you know, when you have a family business, automatically children are exposed to the business, you know, because it is a family business. You bring your children, it's not that you have babysitters and they're somewhere else, it's not like going to a job. So what do you think are the advantages of owning your own business like this?
Well, there is one big advantage, and that is the functioning of the business is entirely up to you. You cannot blame anyone else for whether it goes well or whether it does not go well.
Very true.
So that is, I think, the major advantage, and you are not subject to other people influencing the decisions. It's just you and the family making the decisions, and they are typically pulling at the same string.
But also, you know, you're supporting so many subcontractors. People don't think about it. But when you're doing something like this, you know, you have all the contractors you're working with. Then they have subcontractors they're working with. So even though you might not have direct employees, lots of them, but you do have subcontractors and contractors, and you're supporting so many other fields as well. So what are the disadvantages of owning a business like this?
Well, the one major disadvantage is that occasionally you have sleepless nights because you don't know where the next payroll comes from. And especially when you have an economic downturn, then things are getting more difficult, more tight, and Very often we had to refinance the house in order to
Yeah.
get some cash out of that in order to support the company. So that is a disadvantage. But I would say the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages.
Yes, absolutely. So what advice do you have for people? You know, your friend said something about you being lucky when you said that. Can you tell me what your friend said?
Yeah, Henk Donaghy at some stage made a remark when I said, well, I have been lucky because we got that big order and so on and so on. And his response was then, well, you know, the more you work, the luckier you get.
I love that. The more you work, luckier you get.
That's right.
So really, the luck is something that we create as well.
Absolutely. You define it.
Yes, through your vision, through your hard work, and then family putting all their efforts into the business as well. Because now if you're the chairman, obviously your children have taken over, you know, your business. And so what advice, one-line advice that you have for people who want to start business like this?
Well, there's one advice which I got from a series of events through the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And I met a gentleman who had already been in business for himself,
Yeah.
although that series was about getting into business yourself. So I asked him, well, what is your experience? What did you learn from your having your own business?
Yeah.
And his answer was, never take on an outside partner.
Never take on an outside partner in a family business.
That's right.
That makes perfect sense.
I think so too.
You know, and thank you so much for being on our show, because this is such an important part of what America stands for, is the small businesses, family businesses having an opportunity to contribute to the community beyond the Rotary Club work that you do, but as a company, you know, really building your entrepreneurship, being creative and being successful. And it is so important in our country. And you definitely are a good role model for small businesses to encourage them to not to give up.
That's right.
So
Thank you for
so
having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And thank you for watching Charlotte, a city of international success. I'm Dr. Maha Gingrich. Please join us again next time, right here on WTBI PBS Charlotte.
A production of PBS Charlotte.